So this is editing the podcast. Thank you for joining, if you are joining. And I've got a bit of a pigeon setup with mics and stuff, so it's not going to be quite as clean as I hoped, but hopefully it won't be too bad. It won't be too bad. You can hear me, and that's the important thing. You'll hear bits of the episode, so you can follow what I'm doing, and I'll chat through my sort of process. So the first thing we are doing is bringing our different audio streams into the Premiere project. I use Premiere to edit because I've used it every day for the last 20 years, and so I know it a lot better than I know audio editing or bespoke audio editing programs, so I can just get things done a lot quicker. So we're going to bring these into the project. And then we're going to drop them onto the timeline. I always put me on top, then Minty's, and then Chris's. And I'm going to colour code them quickly so that I can quickly tell them apart. There we go. So the first thing we're going to do, find the sync points so we can get them roughly in sync.
Sync.
That's a nice clear sync point from Chris.
Sync.
Ooh, me and Minty already in sync. Nice and easy.
Sync.
There we go. Then I can skip forward to where I can see the start of the episode is, because I can see in my waveform. Get rid of that crap straight away.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the O3C podcast, coming to you from O3C Games. My name's Jonathan Dunn and I'm joined by Chris Dow.
With its patented fuzzy head.
And just going to tighten this up a little bit
And
clearing some of the dead space.
24-hour moisture.
I will generally go through and take out any dead bits of audio when we're not speaking, just because, there might be background noise, there might be coughs and splutters and who knows what else, so it just keeps it nice and clear. Where I can see that there's like a big passage of clearly dead air, I will just sort of chop it out and be done with it.
And we are chatting about video games.
So that's the intro. I can see this is where I start the announcements. Then I'm going to bring in the audio stings that I've got from another project. And these are going to go in here. Pop them down on this one. Let's drag this intro into place.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the
It's all in place.
We are chatting about video games.
I'll get that audio fade up a bit quicker so it's a bit more dynamic. Easy. And the announcements come in. So I can bring this back here.
Announcement! Greetings all. We'd like to mention a couple of things to you before we dive in today. Number one, check out our website, o3c.games. Read our articles, share our website on social media, and specifically share our articles. We'd be hugely appreciative of...
Clearly I mucked up there, so I can just cut that bit out.
We'd be hugely appreciative if you could do that. And in return, we have got another very exciting Steam giveaway offer where if we see you sharing our articles, we will enter you into a prize draw to win a
I'll just clear up a bit of space just so I don't need to worry about it.
Of Back for Blood on Steam.
Ooh.
And in addition to that, we would also invite you to join a co-op streaming session playing that very game with us as well, and we'll grant you exclusive access to the currently Patreon exclusive Discord server. What a great offer. Share our articles from our website, tag us in the post. We are at O3C Games on everything, and you'll be eligible, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Number two, speaking of Patreon, do please check out our Patreon.
This is quite a nice tight announcement just because I'm reading from the script, so it doesn't require really any editing unless I stumble over my words.
And also a link to give us a one-off donation via PayPal. Pledging a few quid our way through Patreon or just chucking us some loose change really does go a long, long way with us. We're basically on the home straight now of our Addendum, and pledging a bit to support us is absolutely vital in how we consider the future of the show beyond this season. So if you're enjoying this show, please do check that out, even if it's just, £4 a month, which is a paltry £1 an episode. That would make a big difference for us. And you get loads of bonus stuff on Patreon as well, like deleted scenes and outtakes, loads of exclusive bonus episodes, access to the Discord server. We all win when you pledge. When you win. We all win.
He who pledges wins.
So I'll just trim a bit of that out, just because it wasn't that funny.
He who pledges wins.
Yes, and we, who can be pledged, win.
Oh.
So, pledge.
I'll just tidy this up a little bit, just make it a bit tighter.
He who pledges wins.
There we go.
So, we've got 5 addenda left.
Cut out that big there.
We've got 5 addenda left. That's home straight material, and means we've only got 15 episodes left. Minty, you're gonna
Cut out that big snort.
Minty, you're going to tell us about your addendum this week, the game that you've played.
A couple of little ums and ahs here and there.
List,
Don't mind.
and
Keeps
you're
it
also
human.
going to have to give one the boot. And, well, I can't wait to hear that. But you're going to have to. No, I'm going to have to. You don't have to.
Well, I am going to have to wait to hear myself talk about it because I haven't actually said any of this out loud yet.
Bit of a gag there from Minty. The inevitable thing we get is a bit of crossover talk because of the delay. So it is just nice just to line things up a little bit, shift them back and forth.
You don't have to.
Well, I am going to have to wait to hear it yet.
Oh, goodness.
So,
Could be
so
terrible.
it's a surprise for
Could be
everyone.
terrible. Goodness. Could be
So
terrible.
it's a surprise.
Again, just trimming out the fat just to keep it tight.
Terrible.
So it's a surprise for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just been
Realised it.
swirling around in my head like a cloud.
Minty going on about clouds again.
Yeah.
Deep
I mean, you
cuts.
could have accidentally written the whole thing as homophones and saying something racist. Before we
I'm going to cut that out because it's just not funny.
before we talk about that,
Cloud.
let's talk about what we've been playing this week. Minty,
Cut
how
Chris's laugh out because it doesn't make sense.
is your digi activity going?
Oh, it's great. So, yeah. Do you want to have a guess?
Cut it out the and the stuttering. Usually a fair, just because of Minty's general patter, it does require quite a lot of condensing, just in terms of taking out the gaps
So,
and stuff like
do you
that.
want to have a guess at what my favourite dinosaur is?
Favourite dinosaur.
No.
Fine. Oh, moving on. Well,
Just shutting down for a gag there. Didn't mean it, obviously.
moving on. One of those the little guys in the Lost World that run about in the grass. What are they? A Compsognathus. No.
Ah,
Well, that was my shot.
Just take out a couple of,
Little,
take out a bit of my overlapping audio because I'm just getting in the way.
what are they? A Compsognathus. No.
And again, just trimming a little bit there.
Well, that was my shot.
I think it is the Papalocephalus.
It helps that I remember what we've done, so I can. It's amazing like how much sort of information is retained when I come to edit, because I can remember specific stumbles and stuff like that. So I know I'll just cut out. I know I stumbled there, so I'm just going to cut that out.
A Papalocephalosaur.
I don't think that's how you pronounce that dinosaur, by the way, but I think that was clear though.
No, it is not.
Oh no, I know this. It's an Ankylosaurus.
That's correct. Yes.
Yes.
Well done.
I
Yes.
know you. I know. Who'd have
Yes.
thought we'd have had that conversation?
Again, just tidy it up.
Saurus.
That's correct. Yes.
Yes!
Well done.
Who'd have thought we'd have had that conversation before?
Yeah. Not really the sort of thing that adults talk about. To our detriment, I would say.
Yeah.
Let's just tidy that up a little bit.
Yeah. Not really the sort of thing that adults talk about. To our detriment. To our detriment, I would say.
Yeah. Well, we're the ones who are laughing because we did.
Well, yes. So, yes, that is my favourite dinosaur, and at the moment I've got loaded up in my watch I think it's called a
Again, just so I can see big gaps.
Vermillimon, which is
And lip smacks, things like that.
which is red, hence
Oh.
the name.
Again, just trimming out some of the pauses there.
Is red,
Oh.
hence the name. But
Yeah.
it's also the ultimate Digivolution. Digivolution of the Monochromon, who is, wait for it,
Not gonna wait for it.
monochrome.
From the past.
It's in the
Both-
title, isn't it? Clues in the title.
Yeah.
It's just trying to get the conversation organic, which it is when we record it, but because of the delay, it means that some things come in when they just not quite right.
From the past.
Clues in the title.
Yeah.
Don't want to talk over each other too much, but we want to get a nice bit of organic overlap.
Now the Digidex says that they are both Ankylosaurus type Digimon, but they I mean it's got more of a
So I can just take out this whole bit. Little stumble. You can see, like, from the waveform, what's an and an R. There's one. That's probably one there.
I mean
No, that's not I mean. There's one. There's one.
it does have armor on its back.
Which means I can...
So I mean it doesn't have the club tail. It doesn't have the
So I can sometimes just identify them and cut them out without even having to listen to them. But this is just like often when we're talking, we find, like, especially in these first sections, we find like what we're trying to say as as we're going along. So it's sometimes I just trim out the middle bits where we're sort of finding the next word.
armor on its back. It doesn't have the club tail, which we know and love. Which we know and love. Which we know and love. Which we know and love in our ankylosaurs, but it's fine. This is just I've got my Tyrannomon from last week. That's in the bank, and so now I'm just sort of plugging away at completing this family tree. Plugging away at
That's something we do quite a lot as well. If we'll say a word or a little phrase and then just repeat it, which you don't hear when you're talking because it's just natural, like what I just did there. But when you listen back, it's just something that can be tightened up. Anything that can be tightened up,
plugging away,
consider it to be tightened.
completing this family tree. I did when I was doing arena battles. When I was doing arena battles with this this time around, I did the battles this time around. I did come across a couple of mega level Digimon, which then get put into your Digidex when you encounter them, even though you don't sort of Digivolve them. You don't.
Sort of, or a like, or a, they often go, because they're just placeholders
Digivolve them yourself.
for our thinking.
So I've had that spoiled a little for me. I'm going to get...
Oh.
Yeah, I'm going to get a Victory Greymon, or a Gaiomon from this... Gaiomon from this next Digivolution. From this next Digivolution. Both of which are...
Strange sound there.
Both of which are fine. They're sort of the classic sort of dragon men type Digimon that most...
I don't want to take out all of them, is the thing, because then it doesn't sound human. But it is just trying to find a balance.
Most popular Mega Evolutions are.
It's like if I took out all the breaths, it would sound weird.
So yeah, not as enthused. Not as in Revolutions are. Not as enthused to get out and give the old leg a shake as I have been for some of the other ones on this. But yeah, I'm still cracking on. Finding other ways to gamify my life as well at the moment. I bought one of those big water bottles. I bought one of those big water bottles that has the has the targets on it. So it's 7 a.m. Good morning, 9 a.m. Hydrate yourself, and you have to sort of get to that level by the time limit. Which I guess is sort of
It's quite a tenuous bit of conversation, this, but I find it quite funny, so I'll keep it in.
Sort of, it's kind of gamey in a way.
It's game adjacent.
Yeah, it's just a holistic
that's
and
my
fun way
next
to drink
addendum.
water.
Water bottle.
Take out that bit.
In a way,
It's game adjacent. That's my next addendum. Water bottle.
I mean, surely with tech these days.
Just trim that down a bit.
Water bottle.
I mean, surely with tech these days, there is a smart bottle that lets you do that, but also play a game. There must be
Probably.
something out there.
Yeah. And you can unlock Hydratramon.
Yeah, but I mean, if that was a real thing, it means you would be.
There's a crap gag there, which didn't work, so I'm going to cut that out. Hydratramon. Not a thing. Not a funny thing either. Oops. That's one thing you've got to be careful of is I accidentally just moved Chris's part without moving the others, and then everything drifts out of sync. That's a nightmare.
Something out there.
Probably.
If that was a real thing, it means you would be the most juiced person in the land. Just endlessly hydrated. Sopping, yeah.
There's a Pokemon app to help.
Just endlessly hydrated. Oh, I'd be absolutely sopping, yeah.
There's a Pokemon app to help you clean your teeth.
Well, there we go.
So if there was a Pokemon app to help you hydrate, I'd be all over that.
I brush my teeth by
This is prime content, I can tell you that.
I brush my teeth by listening to the Dragon Ball Z theme tune.
It's one departure too far.
Because playing it twice lost to the...
Minty talks about how he brushes his teeth to a bit of music from Dragon Ball Z, I think, or Yu-Gi-Oh!
Also, a great opening. I'm brushing my teeth.
And enjoying yourself.
Yeah. And the enjoyment of it. What else have I been playing?
Of said do.
I pick in the East.
Yeah, so I'll just skip this to come back to when
So if there was a all over that.
What else have I been playing?
Of...
Pick
There we we go.
Alpha. Have either
All over that.
What else have I been playing? In the eShop sale, I picked up Planet Alpha. Have either of you played this?
No.
No, I see it pop up in the sale every time. So I've seen the thumbnail lots, but I've never dug in to actually see what it is. Cool. So, you should buy it, and you see what it is. So you should buy it and you should play it because it's really good.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's got the classic. It's got the classic. What would you call that? The classic artwork. It's got the.
I'm not sure what Minty's getting at here. So I'm just going to cut it out.
The wild pose. So I went in thinking, oh, cool, this is going to be Sonic. All of them, everybody's doing it.
Let's just try to figure out whether or not this departure actually needs to link in. He's talking about how the artwork is reminiscent of Breath of the Wild.
It's got the classic. It's got the classic. What would you call that? The classic artwork.
Right. Okay. So I'm just trying to condense all of this to try and make a sentence that's shorter.
The classic.
So I can say
It's got the
classic. It's got the. Oops.
What do you call that?
And then take the classic from there. Merge those.
Good. Ooh. It's got the classic artwork. Sorry. It's got the classic artwork where it's like somebody. It's got.
There we go. Let's take that one instead, because then he goes on to talk about this. What I'm adding in here is literally just a 2-frame transition, just to help smooth the transition between the clips. Something I will do when I've finished editing the whole episode is do that with all the clips, because it's never long enough to actually interfere with like overlapping audio, and every single clip will benefit from that. But yeah, if I'm not sure if it might overlap, or if I'm like splicing a sentence together, I will just whack it on now just to check.
Really good. Ooh. It's got the classic artwork where it's like somebody standing on the top of a cliff looking over a vast plain.
The Xenoblade pose.
The Xenoblade pose, the Breath of the Wild pose,
Sonic Frontiers pose.
Sonic Frontiers, all of them, everybody's doing it. So I went in thinking, oh cool, this is going to be a nice, imaginative, richly designed 3D open world sandbox adventure. The premise of it sounds cool. You use the power of night. The premise of it sounds cool. This is going to be a nice. It's going to be.
Just try and find a single point again, just to condense the sentences.
Oh, cool! This is going to be a nice, imaginative, richly designed 3D open world sandbox adventure. The premise of it sounds cool. You use the power of night and day and sort of turning back time, turning forward time to solve puzzles and everything. I was like, oh, this is great. It's going to be open world platforming with a puzzle element. The moment that the game started up, I audibly said to myself, oh no, it's a 2D platformer.
Oops. Again, just cutting out the gaps.
Platformer.
Oh,
and
I
that
know.
disappointment.
Yeah, I've seen.
Chris coughing.
Platformer.
Oh, I know this. Yeah, I've seen some shots of it, screenshots of this.
Yeah, that disappointment.
Danish game.
Is it? Disappointing.
Danish game.
Bit of trivia there. Leave that in. Just tidy that up a little bit.
Danish game.
Is it?
Get it a few frames sooner.
Danish game.
Is it?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I know it's made by Team 17 or published or whatever they
Published
do.
by Team 17. Yeah.
Yeah. Where was I? Yes, that disappointment that disappointment that it was 2D was only fleeting though, because while it may not be 3D, it's actually incredibly fucking good.
What a reveal.
Ooh.
Yeah, so it starts off very slowly, like you're basically, I think you've crash landed on.
It's my daughter in the background.
I think you've crash landed on this planet, so you're just crawling around, like trying to find somewhere safe. And there's no words in this game at all, so the narrative is pushed forward purely on what you see in the foreground, in the background, and as far as I know, it's just a big old weird planet that you're on, and there's also some robots.
Cool. Oh, it's downloading now.
Yeah. How
How
much
much is it in the current sale?
£3.19.
That is cheap.
Yes.
It's full price on Steam, which is like
That's not interesting.
and yeah, Nintendo 10.
Yeah, it's excellent. It's excellent. It's
I reckon it will look great on the OLED.
That classic phrase.
I think it will. It's got really, like, it even looks good on my sort of my old model. My old model. Lovely bright colours, imaginative flora and fauna, and not only imaginative to look at, but also imaginative in how you can interact with them. There's a stealthy puzzle element to it as well, and not to lean on that silly old trope of everything hard being like Dark Souls, but I have died a lot in this game. Mostly due to being shot repeatedly by said robots, being bisected by an enormous robotic arm, being stung
Just a bit tighter.
stung to death by huge hornets, being crushed by a massive stag beetle.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Yeah,
God.
missing a plat by just not jumping in the right spot, missing a platform because it went back into the background and my timing was off by a slice. There are many ways that you're going to die, but you're snapped back in. You're snapped back in almost instantaneously. Doesn't allow you to dwell on your mistakes, which is good for keeping that rhythm going, but not necessarily. It's not necessarily.
conducive to making immediate progress. I died to the same platforming bit about probably 15 or 20 times before realizing, oh, I needed to jump onto the bit behind me, as opposed to this bit that has clearly been impossible the last 20 times that I've done it. But it's great.
Little lip smack there.
It's great. It's mysterious. There's no words, like I said, so you're just... Yeah, the narrative is driven solely by your actions. Like I said, so
There we go. I think that works.
I said, so the narrative is driven...
So, the narrative. I think I'm just mixing the word there.
The words, like I said, so the narrative is driven solely by your actions and what you see happen. There's weird sort of monuments and big statues, and you think, well, there must be somebody here or some sort of civilization that's been lost to the ages.
This is going to be Chris coughing again. I noticed recognise the waveform from Chris's coughs.
And why are these robots here? Are they just here to ransack and...
What I generally do, as you've seen I've been doing, I'll just sort of scout ahead a little bit if I'm listening to a bit and just chop out stuff that I know is going to be dead air. I can see a little waveform peak, you know, sort of here, just speeds things up a little bit for when I get to it. I can just go through and just do a rough chopping out, and I can see what the reactions are when, when I get to them. Minty tends to keep to himself when me and Chris are talking. Gosh, yeah, I can see my laugh there, so I'll cut all of that out for now.
Things like leaves or whatever robots find valuable, or is it just bloody minded conquest and they'll sell off the planet to the highest bidder? Who knows? I don't.
Okay.
There we go. And it sounds like there's
I start with a big
and it sounds like there's quite a few similarities actually with what I've been playing this week, because I've only really been playing one game, which is Ghost Runner, because I've been having a fantastic time with it over on the Steam Deck, and I don't think I would have picked it up if it hadn't been included in a bundle or like a subscription service that I had. In fact, I've got it twice because it's in the PlayStation Plus March games and Humble Bundles April games, and I've always kind of like avoided first-person games on consoles because I just don't think mouse
cut that out because I can see that's going to be a cough.
Keyboard controls will ever be matched for that sort of control scheme. But I'm so glad that I got that this game just became owned by me, and that I pushed through that barrier with it on my Steam Deck, because I've just had a brilliant time with it.
Pause there when I find my notes, probably.
I think the thing that's really impressed me most was just how well paced the game is. Certainly in terms of what it's asking of you, and what it's offering, and what it's teaching you, and how it's teaching you things. Because there's a very, very high rate of death and retry, similar to like what you were saying, Minty, and the comparison we made last week of Ghost Runner and Hotline Miami.
Yeah.
And it I think the reason why it's actually doable, and the game isn't just like heart-wrenchingly frustrating, is the fact that the restarts are
Just make sure everything's recording all right. Yep, good.
heart-wrenching restarts are absolutely instantaneous, so you can immediately employ what you've just learned or try to, and every single time you muck up, well, I mean, like 99% of the times you muck up, it's your fault, and you know what you've done wrong, and but the way that the game builds, but the way that the game builds on itself, like obviously you start with. The way that the game builds on itself, obviously you start with like just simple mechanics, like you can swoosh your sword, and you can run along, walls, and like a dash move which allows you to slow down time briefly to avoid incoming enemy fire by quickly shifting your trajectory of movement. Then the game just brilliantly paces itself with how it builds all of the features that are coming your way over. I mean, I'm right at the end of the game now, and I don't know, maybe 9 hours maybe.
Yeah.
And like you end up like hacking, leaping, shurikening, grinding, deflecting, dodging, slicing, possessing, riding. Like, all of these features are just perfectly spaced out so that you never get bored of a particular mechanic before it's adding something else into the mix. But it also never gets overwhelming either, where you're trying to juggle too many button combos before you've fully got to grips with how to play the game. And the enemies are equally as diverse, and they're introduced sporadically through the game to shake things up even further. Like, just when you think you've got the hang of dodging like just a lone gunman.
So I'm just reading from a script for these bits, so I know that
appears, and
more often than not,
handle any enemy as long as they're standing still. New enemies
unless I muck up, stumble on something, I'm not going to make any cuts.
Complete with shields or enormous wave attacks, and it always keeps you on your toes. And it brings like a brilliant puzzle-solving element to the game, which
even little things like that, they're all right because it's just fairly organic and move along fairly quickly. It's one of the reasons why I script things so tightly sometimes, is because I know it will make my job much easier in the edit.
And there's
Cough.
so much scope for changing how you approach each scenario as well. Like, I don't think there's ever been one.
When I cut out bits of like waveform from Minty and
like
Chris's,
if your first approach isn't quite working, rethink.
it's either going to be a cough or a laugh.
You might want to take a slightly different route. You might want to try deflecting the bullet back at an enemy instead of trying to charge him down. You might want to switch your little upgrades around so that you can boost one of your abilities.
If I spot something like that where I can just quickly cut it out,
boost one of your abilities a little bit more, or whatever.
Fine,
it's just like it's just it's constantly challenging your creative thinking as well as your reflexes. And like I said, the fact that it is so instant to restart means that it's just, I don't know, it's just not annoying. A lot. Like, sometimes when I was clearing like a level, it'd be like deaths 250. I think I had on one, and it's like an hour playing and like 250 deaths. But I never got annoyed. There was one time I got annoyed with the game, and that was because I hit the option. I hit the option restart level instead of restart checkpoint, and I had to go back. But then I blasted through what took me probably an hour in about 15 minutes the second time through. So it wasn't that frustrating, and because I was playing it on the Steam Deck, I sit fairly comfortably, and I had like Married at First Sight on or something. And
of course,
it's just it means that I'm not just sat there kind of like miserable because I've got other stuff doing, and it just becomes a really addictive gameplay loop. And I do think it's fortuitous that I came to the game straight off the back of playing Sekiro 5 times in a row, because let's not forget that I did do that. But there were many skills that I'd learned in Sekiro that I could apply here, from like the split-second reaction to avoid attacks and timing parrying with your sword. Like I changed the control setup in Ghost Runner immediately to better reflect how I was playing Sekiro with like the grappling ability on like the left shoulder button, and then having the attack on the right shoulder button, jumping and interacting on sort of matching buttons to what I had in Sekiro, and that like
What am I saying here?
in Sekiro, and that really did help. That really did help me certainly overcome my initial concerns that I wouldn't get on with a first person game on a console, certainly one that required such tight mastery of those controls. And yeah, it's by far the most I've enjoyed controlling a first person game on console controls, definitely. And I think it's probably opened the door to others that I previously avoided. So I think and certainly now I've got the Steam Deck, I may as well install something that I've written off before and give it another go. And I must say it looks so.
Oops. Didn't want to set a marker there.
I must say it looks so nice on the Steam Deck. Like, it looks really nice. It looks really nice. It's a really pretty game anyway. It's got a great sort of design in it, like really nice cyberpunk design. Nothing massively original, but just really cool. And it runs very smoothly. Fantastic soundtrack as well, like really good thumping electronic tracks to like keep you focused, which is it's weird, but it's something I've always done when I'm really trying to get some work done, is whack on some electronic music or like I don't know, like the Social Network soundtrack is like a really regular one, or like Daft Punk or Röyksopp, and it just gets my head in the zone. And so like the soundtrack to Ghost Runner was absolutely perfect for the mindset I needed to be in to play it. And like the story's great as well, the world is great, an all round just brilliant experience. And like I said, I'm right at the end of it now, and I'm really glad that I've had it. Time will tell if I'll return to the game, try and go back and maybe find all the secrets and collectibles and stuff like that. And I mean, to be honest, I think I probably will, because it's just so gosh darn fun to play. Like like Sekiro. Like Sekiro, like I couldn't find a game more fun to actively play once I beat it once, which is why I kept beating it until I found one. And I'll probably do the same with Ghost Runner. I'd say it's certainly a contender for entry in my top 100 list as well.
Of course.
I'm not going to worry about that right now, because I'll see where we're at by the end of this season, and we issue our final evaluation of our lists. But yeah, don't be surprised if this features somewhere on there. And that's me really. I haven't really played much else. I have been playing a bit more of Grow, but I had a few. The game crashed on me. But I had a few. The game crashed on me a couple of times, and I lost quite a bit of progress each time. Which really
Usually Chris's part and Minty's part because I sync everybody up to my click at the start. Usually that's fine for when Chris and Minty are talking, because I'm in time with them. But often when I'm talking, to offset the delay, I have to move Chris's part or Minty's part back, usually just a second or a little bit over. Sometimes the reaction comes in pretty much at the right time, even if it's not exactly as it happened. So you just leave it.
time, which really wound me up, and so I just thought I'm just going to wait for it to get a few patches or something before I return to it, which is a shame. Before I return to it, which is a shame, because I was really I was enjoying it and getting into the gameplay loop of that. And despite what I said about a couple of weeks ago when I said that Switch killer, I mean, I haven't played my Switch at all. So I mean, I played Kirby on it. I played Kirby on it, and I know I'll pick it up again and I know I'll pick it up again when Xenoblade Chronicles 3 comes out. But until then, I'm just
Bit of a long pause there.
out. But until then, I'm just having such a wonderful time with this console, and yeah, I need to find the next thing to play now. So yeah, any suggestions or recommendations from anyone of a good game that is optimised ideally for Steam Deck, I will happily hear and take on board.
And buy.
It's the other way around to what I said. When Chris and Minty are talking, I need to pull my part back.
Of course.
And buy.
Almost certainly. Already bought it. Chris, what have you played this last week?
A few bits. Following on from the comments I made last week.
So what I usually do is see Chris is going on until about here. So I'll just make a little cut there and bring this part back. Usually it's about 1 second and 5 frames.
Think about having a weird head. Tetris.
Yay.
So it all bears out.
It's in sync.
You know, it's still one of my go-to games for when I don't quite feel right. And any version of Tetris is fine, to be honest. Like, there's a company that makes credit card-sized games, like very simple hardware, only a few steps up from like the old LCD. Simple hardware, only a few steps up from like the old LCD games you might have had as a kid in the 90s, but they do make a licensed version of Tetris, and at the moment I don't own one of these, but increasingly I feel like being able to carry something like that in my wallet would be a genuine asset to my daily mental health. just knowing that it's there, not even playing it, just feeling like I've got to do this tough thing, but I can just like pat my pocket and know that it's sat there ready for me if I need it.
Yeah.
The Tetris I have been playing. The Tetris I have been playing is on the PlayStation 3, and if you remember a few months back when my console died, was resurrected, and then was dramatically taken ill again, it wasn't fixable. Phil at Console Fix, who worked on the machine the first time round, decided the juice wasn't really...
It's rare that I cough. I'm just not a coffee sort of person, but I haven't been terribly well.
And then I looked into getting another machine, which I have done. Now, I will say loudly for everyone here and everyone at home, the backwards compatible launch model PlayStation 3s are beautiful, and they're useful, and they're characterful. Like, they're just really lovely machines to look at. But they are unwieldy and heavy and unreliable and costly. And the unit I've gone for this...
Just looking at this bit of Minty's clip here, I think that's just some clicks.
is, you know, we've...
Yeah. Just take that out.
Perhaps a bit less conveniently. And the unit I've gone for this time has many of the same tweaks and modifications as the last one. And I know deep down I could just be delaying the inevitable. But for now, it's here, it's running nice and cool, we're good to go. But I do think this is the last time I'm going to bother with this machine. You know, if this one dies, there are other options I can take, which perhaps a bit less convenient, but certainly not as expensive. So that's for future Chris to worry about. The only test, at least on the PlayStation 3, was a...
This is Chris's little thing. Often make a little before he speaks. I'm always aware of those.
Was a version developed by Electronic Arts of all teams, and I would say outside of Tetris Effect and Tetris 99 at the very peak, and then the original Game Boy and Game Boy Color entries, this is actually one of my very favourite takes on the format. I've beaten it quite...
Apologies for the background noise. I've got to have the window open in this office, otherwise it gets too hot. So you can hear the blind flapping.
I've beaten it quite a few times on the PSP back when that was
low rumble of a
my
passing
go-to
jet.
handheld. But this is the first time I've sat down and played it in HD, I guess, on kind of like a big screen. You've got all your You've got all your regular marathon and sprint modes and everything else you expect from Tetris, but you also have a nice range of variant modes, and a lot of the rule sets in these variants may feature kind of individually in other games, but the presentation of the whole package here, just having them all in one place, is just really, really slick. and they sort of all of them shift the gameplay enough to be kind of quite exciting to play and certainly to get good at higher speeds. Where am I?
There we go. Often, if there's like a breath or a sniff or something like that, just an inhale before speaking, often you kind of need that there just for pacing. Otherwise, it'll just be like if you cut all of those out and close the gaps, then you've just got loads of it's just one continuous sentence. But sometimes I will cut them out if I can get a nice clean bit of space of similar length.
Beats. Some of the goals in these end up being kind of
Nice.
Just get X amount of cumulative lines or get X amount of Tetris line clears or whatever. But the thing that I've enjoyed the most is just having to beat all of these variants on the very highest speed you can set. And as I've mentioned before, while some people do stressful Tetris, that stimulates a very particular part of my brain.
I tried to make a joke there. It's not good, so it's gonna go.
So I'm pretty much at the called a cheeky part of my brain. So I'm pretty much at the end of that. I'm right at the end. There's a couple sort of they're not called achievements in this. They're called doesn't matter. There's a couple things left to do. At the end of that, I'm right at the end. There's a couple. Yeah,
Cut in the cup. There it is.
I'm right at the end. There's a couple things left to do in this one, and then I'll
Close
move on
enough.
and find Tetris to play somewhere else, I guess. Also on the new / old PlayStation 3, since it's returned, or since this one has arrived, I played a full day's worth of Angry Birds Trilogy. With my brother Tom.
Nice.
And when the last console
Nice.
when the last console died, we lost quite a lot of progress on our mission to fully complete this stupid game and its 18 billion stages. And so this day was essentially like Project Rebuild starting again. So we have taken down the first full chapter of 60 odd stages. You know, we've taken the majority of those to 3-star, and that took the day. It's much bigger than you realise. Like as a mobile game, I'm not sure if anyone was truly aware of how much time it takes to organically beat Angry Birds, because it was the thing you just had a quick blast on as you waited for something else or whilst you had a poo. But if you're sat down playing it on a big screen, when it's your sole focus, you quickly when it's your sole focus, you quickly see just how much time even simple stages can take to perfect. And you know, I guarantee for every stage we beat in 2 or 3 goes, one will pop up that took us a full hour. And I don't know if we're ever going to finish this. You know, given that this is probably our 10th, I'd love to.
You have to do it
But
before
given
the
that this is-
console dies.
It's just-
Just condense that joke.
You have to do it.
I don't know if we're ever going to finish this.
You have to do it before the console dies.
Chris would start laughing about that.
Please.
I'd love to, but given that this is maybe our 10th attempt since the trilogy first came out on the Xbox 360 and doing this together, I'll probably say no. Also, yes. Like, I'm always willing.
I believe
but
in you.
Yeah.
I want to see it happen.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll try. Give just offhand updates as we go. We don't play it that often because it's only really when we can kind of hang out for a full day that we sit down and get on with it. So it might be kind of a month until you hear something. But fingers crossed, the console survives and the Angry Birds Odyssey continues.
Is there not like a more reliable hardware you can play that game on that you don't need to worry about it dying and blowing up? About it dying and blowing up.
Probably. I mean, that version was on the Wii U as well.
Okay, yeah.
But because the Wii U is now.
Yeah.
But because the Wii U.
Whoops. Because
Because the Wii.
work.
Yeah.
But because the Wii U is now, it's a dead console, and for some reason games like that are worth a lot of money for some reason. So a copy of Angry Birds Trilogy on Wii U is about 60 quid,
Yeah.
whereas everywhere else it's like £2 at CEX. You know, I've got a copy of the 3DS, but it's not quite the same having to like sit around that together.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll
We need
see.
a Switch version. That's what we need. We need.
Oh, I'd love it.
That'd be great.
I'd buy that in a heartbeat.
What's the developer called? Something.
Rovio.
Developer called?
Rovio.
Rodeo. Come on, Rodeo, if you're listening. Of course you are.
Rovio. I don't know if you said
Rodeo.
Rodeo.
Rodeo. Come on, Rodeo, if you're listening.
Rovio.
Me mistaking Rovio for rodeo is funny.
If you're listening.
Rovio. I don't know if you said
Rodeo.
Rodeo.
Come on, Rodeo, get off your horse.
Come on, yeehaw us into.
Off your horse.
Come on, yeehaw us into town with an Angry Birds port for the Switch. Now,
Oh, dog's gone nuts.
the last thing I put a few hours into, and I say this with quite a heavy sigh, is Fantasy Life Online on mobile.
Oh God,
And
yeah.
This is the pseudo.
Yeah,
This is the pseudo sequel to the 3DS Classic that we all loved.
famously.
That finally got localized for the West about 6 months ago. And when it came out here, it was years after it was kind of live in Japan. And worryingly, I think the Japanese version is completely shuttered. It's not even running anymore. So the content plan for this game may well have a pretty definitive endpoint, which isn't great for a free-to-play live service game with microtransactions, but there we are. There we are. It's got a loose story. It takes place on the exact same map as Fantasy Life.
That's
just
so
in a high
lazy.
resolution,
That's so lazy.
and it has you competing. Yeah,
Again, just a bit of a overlap and repetition because of the delay.
resolution.
That's so lazy.
Yeah, and it has you completing many of the same kind of life-related tasks depending on what you set your character as. There are some positives, like it controls well enough on the touchscreen. There's a decent variety of things to do each day. The new village building component is quite a fun time sink, in as much as any village builder on a mobile game can be a fun time sink for a few minutes each day. But there are a lot of negatives, and that's what's going to probably stop me playing it in the not too distant future. When you boot up the game, because this has obviously run in Japan for a long time, you have to click through and clear about 10 pop-ups related to live events, premium currencies, other stuff that's happening as like one-offs that day, co-op play that you can join in with, gacha nonsense. Like there is so much just to kind of absorb and then clear. And on top of that, it's got all the other kind of catch-alls that go with this sort of game, like an energy meter, which so far it hasn't impacted how much I've been able to play when I'm just checking in for 50 minutes before bed. But it does stop this from ever turning into a game like the 3DS version that I used to play for 3 or 4 hours straight. Oddly as well, the open world has been cut up so you're only ever exploring part of the map at once.
Right.
So like a chunk.
So there's quite a big gap there. Let me just go back.
But
There's quite a big gap there as well. There we go.
the map at once.
Right.
So like a chunk of Castile or a little chunk of Mount Snow Peak. And it's really frustrating to know that my phone is probably as powerful as 50 3DS consoles. and so it's obvious this choice is just to, you know, link up with that energy meter, because every time you go off on a little quest, you use 5, 10, whatever the energy currency is. And it's just to push you towards the game's premium currencies and premium things that it wants you to buy.
Fucking hate it.
I know. I know I talked a lot about Genshin Impact a year or so ago, but it is still, for better or worse, the only example of free-to-play that seems to have been done right. Because at its peak, I was playing that game for hours a day, and I was never told to go away. And the open world was seamless, and it was bigger than the majority of AAA open worlds on the market. It was just a game before it was a free-to-play game, if that makes sense. It really felt like it was developed as something that should be fun and anyone could take part in. And then if you did want to spend money, there was all the other stuff that went with it. And obviously it's making money because they're about the richest developer in the world right now. So they're doing something right. And I have no idea if Fantasy Life
Just save.
Online is going to sustain me for very long. I wanted to try it mainly just for completion's sake, because it's obvious that the series is not coming back anytime soon.
That's a shame.
But to be honest, I think this is a case where perhaps just letting sleeping dogs lie would have been the best choice. So this is not a recommendation at all.
Especially with
It's not a recommendation at all.
Especially with the DLC that came with Fantasy Life. That game is so complete for that concept that I don't think a sequel or is needed.
No.
I mean, is cool. Is needed.
No.
I mean, the only thing is have it HD on a modern console, so we can keep playing it or play it again.
Yeah.
But I don't think. But I don't think a sequel or even a a remake of that game will ever give more of an experience than that original.
No, not at all. Not at all. So yeah, put it in the bin. Don't worry about that. Play something better.
Cut that out. Brilliant. Well.
Better.
Brilliant. Well, there we go. So on to the main event. There we go. So on to.
Put a bit of space there.
There we go. So on to the main event, which is in Minty's hands. Minty, cradle us softly, cup us in your grasp, and tell us what you're amending your top 100 list with this week.
Great, I will. It's new Pokemon Snap, and it's replacing old Pokemon Snap for many, many reasons.
Oh,
Cool.
1 in, 1 out.
Join us next week.
I do this joke a lot, and I always find it funny. Just pretend that that's the end of the episode.
Many reasons.
Oh,
Cool. Join us next week. Oh no.
So first up, it's a game. So first up, it's a game most everybody who played the original has wanted ever since the original came out. This is a desire that's impassioned by things like Pokemon Go, seeing all the Pokemon have lives in that Detective Pikachu film, even the tenuously applicable Nintendo fucking Labo camera. We've been champing at the bit for a chance to...
Oh yeah, same thing here with Minty. I need to move my part back so it's in sync. Let's do it from about that point. There it goes.
The Wild Labo camera.
Oh, yeah.
We've been champing at the bit for a chance to what?
Well, points to Minty for correct use of that phrase. Champing at the bit, not chomping on the bit.
Wildly swing a controller around to follow the particularly speedy bird Pokemon like a coked up Attenborough for years and years now. Let's just take a few moments to remember that announcement during that Pokemon... Was it the Pokemon Day Direct in 2020? Well, I think so, yeah. I think everybody can remember where they were when they heard it, like a good JFK assassination or a not as good death of Thatcher. The trailer was just fantastic. It looked wonderful. Every frame was just stuffed with life and lives. Like, instead of 3 fish near a rock or 1 Pikachu and 1 Pidgey, there's so many different Pokemon together in crazy numbers, no matter where you would look. Let's get the good side of this Vaporeon. And, in the next bit, the voiceover is taking the piss out of this Tyranitar's eating habits. Hey Tubby, it's called chewing. Only joking. Tyranitar is a rock and dark type, not a fat type. Days and nights were back as well. The best thing to happen to Pokemon games in nearly 25 years that's been overlooked for almost as long. They're back. Overlooked for almost as long. They're back and effectively double the number of courses you go on. Like, it's incredible stuff. It's a much bigger game than the original, so it follows that the stakes need to be a little bit higher. Instead of just bumming around one island and having Professor Oak gatekeep later areas of the game because he can't remember where the apples are, you're now building a Pokedex of all the Pokemon in the entirety of the Lental region, and you're uncovering the mysteries of the Illumina Pokemon, which, as far as I know, the mystery is that they're big and they glow.
Solved.
You end up at some...
I shouldn't laugh at my own jokes.
Yeah, and...
I do.
Glow.
Solved.
Quite right, it's just getting the timings right. Just a couple of frames makes all the difference.
Glow.
Solved.
Yeah, and as you're solving this mystery, you end up in some massive cavern at the end of the game, and you need to throw balls at various crags of archaeological importance to open up the big climax at the end of the game, which I'm not spoiling, but players of the original will remember the satisfaction and advancements that a well-placed piece of fruit or nuisance ball can bring. It's a fitting finale to really quite a bombastic game. Back in the N64 version, Pokemon would just they would be very scripted. They would go they would go from one place to the other. Maybe they would bump into some. Maybe they would bump into something else, or maybe they would bump into something else, and they would just do the same thing each and every time that you played each course. And because there wasn't that many of them, there was probably not enough data processing power, whatever you want to call it, for them to have anything resembling a little bit of randomness to their routines. It did become very, very samey. Well, you don't really get that in this new game, particularly when you consider the fact that each Pokemon has an entry in the photograph album with 1 to 4 stars, and each star represents a particular behavior that you can just tease out of a Pokemon, depending on whether you feed it fruit, or you play it some nice music, or you bother it with one of the aforementioned nuisance balls. It gives a much more complete. It gives a much more complete. It gives a greater sense of It gives a greater sense of completeness to a Pokemon, right down to the individual. Every single Pokemon can have 1 to 4 stars. They have so many different things that they can do, that you can take photos of. It's just wonderful. There's so much to discover in this game, and the better you do, the more photographs you take of Pokemon in each course, the more Pokemon get, the the more Pokemon appear in that course. So it pays to keep going back, taking better photos, because the more Pokemon will come. We can take better photos of them and open up even more Pokemon. It's just the sheer amount to discover is just...
Like when what I'm just doing here is when I can see ahead and I can see like a little lip smack or a hesitation or a pause, I can just chop it out and
just... Whoa, it's mind-boggling, it really is. And of course, director of this game, who was a...
Like what I just cut out there was not a hesitation, it was a the...
The director of this game, who was a fella called... I've lost it. Who was a fella called Haruki Suzaki, directed both Pokemon Snap games, and he has something interesting to say because he comes from having developed that first game. Developed that first game, coming in to direct this one. He also talks about how we interact with photos differently now. It's not just, oh, let's go up into the loft and bring down the box of literal photographs. Like we're putting them on social media. We're showing them to everybody who's going to look. We're taking 400 of like fucking meals or an interesting piece of foliage. Piece of foliage that we see on a walk, all this sort of thing. So adding that social aspect, the little social media aspect to the game is also a really great addition. I don't know if I haven't picked it up in a while. I haven't picked it up in a while, but I assume the top photo that somebody shared is still that photo of the Bidoof.
Yeah.
With the pair of sunglasses on. I mean, about 3 hours after that game came out, that photo was on there and it had millions and millions of thumbs up. It was, perfect in its simplicity and perfect in its simplicity and its humour. It really encapsulates just what that aspect. Just what that aspect of the game is. It really, really is wonderful. And lastly, loads and loads and loads of my favourite Pokemon are in it. I think we're up to over 900 now, with the new ones from Pokemon Legends Arceus, taking us up to 905, I believe. And I think back...
There's an example of just cutting out breath.
And I think back to the 63 Pokemon sort of camera glitch when you photograph a gemstone. It was very much run type deal, and boy, they delivered. They really have. Now I can load up the game and in one sitting I can take a photo of most of my favourites. In no particular order, I could take photos of Cradily, Flygon, Lugia, Finneon, Toucanon, Hydreigon, Umbreon, Houndoom, Typhlosion, Archeops, Scarappi, Superior, Stunfisk and Sudowoodo, who's just wandering around the map in a lovely little cameo. We love him. We love him.
I know that one.
Yeah. Love him.
I know that one.
Yeah. The fake tree. Every stage of the map is not a treat to play because even though the biomes do give pretty massive even though the
Oops. Stay all of it.
even though the biomes do
It's not quite right, is it?
even though the biomes do give pretty massive hints as to what Pokemon you're going to be able to find there are always some surprises thrown in. Whenever I play, I'd lean over to Mrs. Minty and I'd say, Would you like to join me on an ecological trip of mystery and danger? I'd have her pick which stage to visit and then make sure that she didn't make any progress in her book by loudly narrating the entire exposition and throwing in fun facts about all the Pokemon I'd see. I get there though, because I'm only talking about Pokemon, whereas she would talk about coloured pencils. But like I said, it is replacing the N64 Pokemon Snap, but as a vastly superior game, it's only fitting to poke it in a little bit higher, so I'm going to put it in at number, I think it's going to go in at number 68.
Good stuff.
I think that's
Tasty. Tasty. It is such a wonderful game. You've really done it justice there. I think the level of it just feels so organic. Like you said, it just live. It's exactly what we wanted, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's it gives you such a wonderful. It gives you such a wonderful Pokemon experience that is something you just don't get in the games. It's something you almost get in some of the films and the TV shows of just sort of watching Pokemon live and be. It's just the sheer level of fun. The sheer level of fun and creativity that is there in their design and their behaviour and all the incredible minds that went into just conjuring these beings into existence. And it's going in my list as well. It's going in my list as well. I had an inkling that this was going to appear on your list, and I thought I'm going to piggyback on that.
Number one.
And it's not number one.
Speaking of making jokes every time, that's Chris's favourite thing to do. Number one. It's not number one.
Number one.
It's not number one. But I think around about number 7. Around about number 70, I'd say, is where that's going, and that means I need to get rid of one, and that means I need to get rid of, doesn't it?
That's the rules.
Right, let's have a look.
I'll genuinely try and figure out what to take out at this point, so there's a bit of thinking.
I've got games that I've assigned to get rid of at some point, but okay, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of a game.
So I can just cut out all that thinking.
I'm gonna get rid of a game that tried to give you the Pokemon Snap experience by crowbarring it into a mainline Pokemon game, but not really delivering. And I'm going to get rid of Pokemon Ultra Sun.
Bosh.
And I love Pokemon Ultra Sun. I think it's the way it shook the gameplay formula up was great. I think the design of the world was. The design of the world was great. I loved the Ultra Beasts. There's so much about the game that I think is brilliant.
But
it's not as good as Pokemon Gold. So
get rid of all of them.
See ya.
All in the bin apart from Gold.
I'm pretty.
All in the bin apart from Gold.
I'm pretty sure that is. Oh no, I've still got red and blue. Well, blue and yellow as I had. I've still got those Pokemon games, but every other Pokemon game
bin,
and I'm still keeping. it's got a very original Pokemon in there because it's got a very different meaning to me.
Yeah.
It's not a better game than Pokemon Gold. Neither's Jurassic Park, but
Brilliant.
so they're all staying. They're all staying. Meaning to me.
Yeah.
There we go. So that's roughly the end of the main episode content. Oh, it's a nice, swift episode, this. That's what we like to see. So a little marker here on the timeline, just so I know where to put in the end music.
So there we go. That was... That was Minty's addendum and also mine, and it was.
I did this thing where I tried to say it in sync.
It was new
Pokemon Snap.
It was
New Pokemon Snap.
That didn't work. Do it again. Count
It
yourselves
will
up.
do in the edit.
Count yourselves up.
Will.
That didn't work.
See if this joke works.
It was
New Pokemon Snap.
That didn't work.
It will do it. It was.
It was
New Pokemon Snap.
That didn't work.
It will do in the edit. It will do in the edit. If
Might work.
If
It
you
might
enjoyed
laugh.
this episode, please do share our podcast on your social media platforms. Guide some other people our way. Share our articles if you want to be in with a chance of winning a copy of Back for Blood and joining us for an online streaming co-op session. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/O3C Games. We really appreciate your support. It's we need it. We need it, and it's not just we'd appreciate it. We need it to keep going. And or just go to o3c.games/support and chuck us a few quid on via PayPal. We'd very much appreciate that as well. You can chat to us on social media at O3C Games on everything. Tell us what you're playing. Ask us questions you might like us to answer in a future episode. Why not? Give us a discussion point. Tell us what you want to hear from us. And tell us what you think of these games. If you want to reach out to us individually, you can do that as well. I'm on Twitter at Jonathan Dunn.
Live at Chaz_Hodges.
And I'm Clement_Boo.
And please do join us next week, where Chris will be amending his list even further.
I will.
Number 1. No.
Right, there we go. That is the main content done. So, I need to put in the HyperX advert. Right at the start. I haven't downloaded this one. Reopen Slack. Just reopen it. There's a link to it on here somewhere. General. I don't want to start a voice only huddle. HyperX ad read. I don't know where it is. There's the ad read, that'll go on the end. Promo chart, updated, ad read. Oh, no idea. Anyone got a link and promo schedule for the month? That's just the ad read. Network promos, is it in there? No. HyperX ads, that's the one. May. This is it with music. Let's download this one. O3C Games. correct ads. Is it downloaded? May. I can go in there. Oh wow, that in after the announcements.
Pledges.
I've only got a gip here, but you're going to have to? No. So,
There we go. Where did that go? May.
Make room
Turning that down a little bit. -6.
for huge plays with the
The audio level won't be so such a contrast once I mix our audio.
so. So,
Bit harsh, but it's fine. Not my problem. That's not my ad. Okay. Right. So now we're going to. So I'm going to select all of them, and then I'm going to just add a 2-second transition to all of it. Then I'm going to get the audio gain as high as it can that it can detect, but that's already there. Then I'm going to nest it. JD episode 20. I'm going to do the same with Minties. Add the transitions. Audio gain. That will usually go up a little bit. There we go. Nest MB episode 20. Then I'm going to select Chris's. Add the transitions. Audio gain. Not worth doing. CD episode 20. Then I'm going to render and replace these. So I'm just dealing with one audio file instead of 1,000 little ones. So it's going to take a few seconds. What I'm going to do as well is in here. Chris will have put the latest episode. I'm going to download that because I'm going to nick the ads off the end of that. So it'll be the same as. Where's that gone? WhatsApp MPEG 3. Yeah, the ads to go on the end will be the same. There we go. So that's done that. I'm just going to put these in the right folder. These go in original files, then these are the nests. They also go in the nests. I'm going to edit the clip in Audition. It's just going to open it up in Adobe Audition for me to whack a bit of filtering on it, clean it up a bit. What I've got here in Audition is, there it comes. Yeah, home access. I don't care. Thank you. I know how to use Audition. Right, so Minties. So I've got already a preset for O3C processing, which basically goes through, analyzes it for noise, and removes the noise. Then it does an auto leveling of the audio, so that the voice is vaguely at the same volume, and then I normalize it. So that's going to do this. So applying denoise, which takes a few seconds, 22, 20, 18. These are quick seconds. Not sure how happy I am about that. Then what did it do? Then it normalizes it, so it makes it sort of like normalizes it. It basically just means it boosts the general volume up to as high as it can without it peaking, and then the speech volume leveler is then what makes it all nice and a bit more uniform. And then I've also got O3C EQ, which just whacks a bit of EQing on it that I've already sort of set as a preset just to take out some of the intrusive levels.
So, you should buy it and you should play it.
And now it's nice and clean and even, like the snow in Good King Wenceslas. O3C processing. while I'm doing that, let me get the end music in place, which is this music. And it starts there where I'd added the thing. Oh, that might have changed actually, because I
think 68.
Good stuff.
moved the audio for the to put that ad in.
It's
Yeah.
meaning to me.
Yeah.
New.
It will do in the edit. If so, that
There it is. So it's going to start there. Go on. And then I've got the end of that track here.
oh, number one. No,
Back a bit.
number one. No.
And then I just make these join. This is just a really long music file, so that I can just easily just join it and put a whacker crossfade in. Doesn't need to be precise for it to do its job. Then I've got, what are we doing over here? That's done that. Let's EQ that. Thank you kindly. Chris, no, don't do that. Oops. Processing Chris's part. Where did we get WhatsApp? That was the WhatsApp episode. So I'm just going to open this.
No.
And obviously,
This is this week's episode. Just wait for that to load.
What I form factor,
There we go.
keeping the arrow keys without the numpad.
Goodness me.
Do you play?
Live less than we're legal.
and
There it is. I'm just going to whack that on the end.
Now a word from our sponsor.
There we go, that's fine. Where we have to do this, let's do the EQing on that. Then that is save all. It's done then. Let's get rid of that. Let's see, these will update. Should be nice and
Just they would be.
Would just be delaying it.
and they're all nice and even.
And please do join us next.
And now a word from our sponsor. And now a word
I'm just going to lower the volume of that a bit because it's a bit.
from our sponsor.
The Origins haste, pulsefire haste, wireless mouse.
It's Chris's ad read. That's excellent. There we go. That's the episode done. And then I can just export it as an where is it? MP3. There we go. And then this goes into exports. Episode 20 Minty. Choose. Export. That's done. It's nice to see it around about the 41-minute mark. I think, yeah, kind of good. I mean, it was pretty tight this episode, actually, because usually we record and it's usually over an hour, and we end up cutting out around about 20 minutes of stuff. But I think I only cut out about 10 minutes, which is means it's just pure gold. Next thing I do while that's exporting is I do the artwork for the episode. I'll show you quickly how I do that as well, just because you might find it interesting. You might not. Not my problem. I can see it's a little bit my problem, but not really. Okay, that's exported. So let's minimise that and get rid of that. Don't need any of that stuff. Don't need that. That's just going to keep recording, so that's good for me. That's my script for the next episode. Cancel that. Right, there we go. I'll open the last one that I did, which is this one, episode 19. I'll save this as number 20. Let's get rid of those background bits that I did. Okay, and this is what is this? Oh yeah, this is Minty Booth, new Pokemon Snap. I haven't got a this font doesn't have a an accent in it, but fortunately I made one. There it is, wherever that's gone. There it is. That goes over new Pokemon Snap. Then I'll open up the internet and try and find new Pokemon Snap, find some images to go on there. That's nice, isn't it? That's just a nice image. Let's whack that in. That behind everyone. It's quite nice, isn't it? I'll just add a bit of a gradient fade to that. There we go. Just reduce the opacity to 50. Okay, bit of a thing. Let's find a camera to go around Minty's neck. Pixel art camera. That works. Put that in front of Minty. There we go. He's holding a camera now. Let's put a drop shadow on that. We'll put a bit of a glow on it so you can see it a bit better. There we go. Now let's put in some of his favourite Pokemon. Who do we like? Cradley. We like. I wonder if I can get. That's. There we go. That's Cradley. Who else does he like? Lugia. This is quite. Seems to have good. Right, let's find the sprites from here. Search for Pokemon Lugia. There we go. Excellent. Who else does he like? Skorupi, I know. Skorupi. Is that how you spell it? No. How do you spell it? Is it with a K? Skorup. There it is. Skorupi. Finneon. I know he likes it partial to a Finneon. There's a Finneon. Who else? Who else does he like? Oh, I can't remember. Blastoise. Loves the Blastoise. There's a Blastoise. Any other good one? I can't remember. Come on, one more. Just got to think of one. I don't know. He mentions Tyranitar, so let's put him in. That's not how you spell it. Tyranitar. Mentions Tyranitar, so let's get one of him in. Okay, so let's make these a bit more dynamic. He can go there. Blastoise can go here. Who's that? It's Finneon. Just pop him in the water here. That's quite nice. Who's this? This is Skorupi. I'm just going to flip him around. Just pop him behind Minty. It's like his little pet. Then we've got, who's this? Lugia. I'm going to flip Lugia around. And I'll put this above the speech bubble as well, the art bubble, just so it makes it again a bit more dynamic. There you are. Who else have we got? Oh, the Cradley. Where's the Cradley? I'm going to whack Cradley above there as well. I'll put him there, but I'm actually going to put Tyranitar above him. There we go. Let's make Blastoise a little bigger. Then I'm just going to add drop shadows to those. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. Lovely. That's nice, isn't it? Oh, Pseudo Widow. Let's get Pseudo Widow in because it's funny. There you go. I'm just going to pop him. I'm going to pop him up here. Just on top. Little bonus Pseudo Widow. And a drop shadow to him. There we go. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. And I can save that then. Artwork. artwork. The Addendum, this is episode 20. And then I can go to the O3C Games one and whack in the artwork, send it to the boys, and the export, send it to the boys. And that is done. There we go. That's as complicated as it is. I don't know if you've picked up any little rules or editing sort of philosophies that I sort of did along the way, like how I sort of creatively decide of which bits to chop out and keep the pacing and all of that sort of stuff. But hopefully it's interesting. Might be, might not be, but I've done it. That's what's important.